Gaurav, he's Omar, I'm Majid, we're the substitutes, and today we are using the international break to look at a very important question because when it was announced that there was no football this week for the international break and for the Queen's death, everyone's first reaction at the substitutes and other channels, I'm sure, was, oh, thank God, no football this week, a break from it. So, our question is very basic. Is there too much football, professional football, being played right now? Omar, what's up? Yes or no?
Yes, there's a lot of football that's being played right now. And I'm saying this because I live in Singapore, right? I have to wake up sometimes very early in the morning to watch Man United lose. I'm doing it tonight as well. So it's just too much football. And at some point, I'm like, do I really care about the Carabao Cup? Do I really care about the FA Cup? I don't care about the Europa League. Why am I watching all of this? I'm definitely a sadist, I think, or a masochist.
Gaurav?
Yeah, I think, look, I agree on the whole that there's too much football being played, but I disagree with Omar on the type of football that's being played too much. I love like the Carabao Cup. I love FA Cup. I love all of those domestic fixtures. I think Europa League's good. Like, I think if you ask Arsenal fans the past few seasons, or even like a lot of United fans, man, they've had some good memories, right? Europa League, Europe's fun, right? Europe's great. Let's just put that on the table. What sucks is the fucking Nations League, right? That shit is bullshit. The friendlies that we play for absolutely no reason, that aren't even qualifiers, that's bullshit. For me, that's the football that's being played too much. All these players that have to go on international duty, a mid-season World Cup is too much football. All right. And I think that's where the likes of FIFA and UEFA have a responsibility to think about the product. And the product is the best players being fully fit and at their prime for as long as possible and playing against each other. That doesn't happen with all these international fixers.
I do agree with you, Gaurav. Like I don't like international football. I think it's pointless most of the time. But I think there's a reason why. Um, I think after COVID hit, it's pretty much been nonstop since. It's been stop and start, Project Restart, and then that finished in like August or something at the very latest. And then we started the new season. It was very condensed, some COVID fixtures, and then it started again. But if you maybe there's some additional fixtures like the Conference League, but like if you get down to it, it's the same amount of football, right? But it's just been COVID, stop, start, now then a new season, stop, start, now a new season, and now a World Cup, right in the middle. I'm hoping we get back to some normality next year. Yeah, go
What
ahead.
if I tell you guys I don't think there's too much football? I think there's the right amount of football. I think football itself has not changed its rules to support what it's trying to do. So, for example, why not increase the roster size so that instead of a 22-man team, you can sign three additional players, three more bodies, and play those throughout all of these competitions? Because this is very true. The original sin is that coronavirus came in and that ruined the entire timeline. But that timeline was going to get ruined because you accepted the World Cup anyways. So you didn't do yourself any favors. So, like, um, why not sacrifice if the coronavirus thing is the excuse? Why not sacrifice some of those games? Just cancel the EFL Cup for this year. Why is it such a?
Mm.
We've done it in. If we're going to live in wartime, and a lot of our leaders had said it's wartime situation right now, then like let's behave accordingly. So I don't necessarily. I think yes, there's too much football on one hand, and either club or international. I don't know. I actually love internationals. I love internationals because it is just a nice like friendly break instead of like you have to watch everything. Um, I don't know if it's club or thing, but I do think there might be enough football. You just need to change the rules a little bit more to aid and abet this expansion. Like right now, I find you're diluting your product with the health thing. This I don't know if they've looked long term or if they care long term, because after this World Cup, I think it's going to be a little bit. You're going to see injuries, and injuries aren't a 1 day patch like what we read in the newspaper. Oh, he's back from injury. This is a human being who has to deal for 6 months with this psychologically, physically. And you never know if they're going to be the same player on a very crass level. You never know if
Yeah,
Christian Eriksen, if he's going to stay, right? Like,
They don't
yeah,
care. And Garb, I
yeah,
think I think you and I had this conversation. They don't care.
yeah. And I think you make a really good point, Majid, when you talk about the fact that administratively football hasn't changed much in the way it functions, right? And that's actually a very, very solid point, because when you look at the FA, when you look at UEFA, when you look at any of sort of like the big leagues, when it comes to ownership, fan engagement, when it comes to rules, when it comes to VAR, when it comes to anything, they are so slow to move with the times and so slow to actually evolve the sport. And I think that's a core issue where we could actually make like a completely different video on that, just about how shitty administration is in football in general. And we can do one for each league. But getting back to the point about administration in terms of fitness and in terms of timing of games and in terms of player fatigue, they should absolutely be increasing the roster size. They should have implemented 5 substitutes a couple of seasons ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of injuries could have been prevented. I think a lot of mental fatigue could have been prevented. I think the issue with a lot of these changes, even remember the 5 substitute rule, when it was being debated and not yet implemented, all of the smaller clubs were coming out of the woodworks screaming bloody murder because this was given advantage to the big clubs that had more money and could sign better players and had more quality on the bench. So that was touted as an unfair advantage for 2 or 3 seasons until we could actually get 5 substitutes in the Premier League, which we already had in Germany before, and I think La Liga as well. So I think the issue is that in general, clubs care more about their pocket than they care about player welfare. Players are just digits to them, dude. I think, honestly, players are just digits to them. They're just assets. They don't actually mostly care that much about their players as much as they care about the value that their player brings them and the ability to put something on the pitch. So
they're assets until they become liabilities.
exactly,
I mean,
right? So
that's how it's always worked in football, though.
yeah.
I think.
I'm just reiterating that is that
Mm,
players are always just going to be looked at as assets. Like, don't get fooled by the fact that, there's some players that have been at clubs for a very long period of time. They're still just long-term assets. Like, let's not get it twisted.
Um, Go ahead, Omar. Do you have anything to say? No.
I mean, look, we've got. I mean, with the Queen's death, like they canceled fixtures that shouldn't have been canceled. It made no sense to me. And if you actually look at the schedule, and now they've got the Carabao Cup fixtures that have come out, it's insane. You've got games a day apart from each other. I don't know how they're going to reschedule that. When are they going to reschedule that? Like, they honestly haven't thought things through. They don't care about it. And it's like you said, right? Like, they just care about money. Do you think they care about it when they're getting so much money from TV rights? Like from all of these TV deals? Like, it's insane. And like the players will be the ones that end up suffering, and that's the thing that frustrates me the most.
And us as fans, I think, like, I really want to reiterate this as well, because I agree with you 110%. The players will suffer first and foremost and the most. But the product suffers, dude. The product suffers when you have the best players, which is your starting 11. If 5 of them are injured, half of your best product is not on the pitch. So we're not watching Manchester City with Haaland, De Bruyne, Gundogan, and fucking John Stones and Ederson. We're watching Manchester City with like a couple of other people or youngsters playing in those positions, which is exciting. But if that's what all the teams have to go through in the entire league, how much is your product suffering? And how much are fans being robbed of a better product, which was there on the table, but because of your greed is no longer available?
I did have an additional point, right? Like something that you mentioned before, which was the subs rule, which is the 5 subs rule should have been made years ago, right? But 14 clubs, 15 clubs, however much it was, right? They started complaining like, no, it's an unfair advantage. I'm like, is it though? Because you're playing less. You're not in Europa League. You're not in the Champions League. You've been knocked out of the FA Cup. You've been knocked out of the Carabao Cup. And these big teams, yeah, fine, they spend more money, they have more money, they buy more players, but it just like I don't understand who makes these decisions. Like, do they actually look at these things and they're like, we want to grow as much as we can. But instead of saying we want to grow as much as we can, let's make sure we put the right procedures in place to make sure that things are proper. That nobody is thinking of these things. It's just money, 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 money. We'll deal with the consequences later. I swear these guys have like I hate to say it, but they do kind of have an Arab mentality about these things. Or let's just grow and deal with the consequences later. And I'm saying this because of what I experienced before.
He does not represent my opinions towards the Arab community. What I will say,
Dubai,
Ditto.
Abu Dhabi. I'll say this, Abu Dhabi. Then I'll be very specific.
um,
Come after me.
I,
Go after me.
I do think that there is a disease of short-termism when it comes to football administration and when it comes to football ownership as well, right? There definitely is. But I think, and Majid, I think you'll agree, that disease of short-termism is there at every seat of power in any administration, pretty much anywhere in the Western world right now. So, you know, capitalism breeds short-termism and it breeds just profitability, right? And that's kind of the disease sort of world that we live in. And, you know, instant gratification on Instagram is also instant gratification as make as much money as you can this season and worry about it afterwards. Like, fuck it. Look at Barcelona, man. Like, what the fuck? So, I don't know, man. Like for me, I think the only way this gets better is when a disaster happens, right? When the product actually, like when a lot of really important players get injured, or after this World Cup, you get a half-assed product in the league games because of how many players got injured or unavailable or unfit. I don't think this changes because the administrators want it to change. No one's going to listen to the players.
They won't because the English FA is so traditional about things. They're like, this is the way that we want to do things. This is how we've always done it. And I mean, they're so backward when you think about it, like in every aspect of the sport. So they should have been more forward thinking about this for years and they just haven't done anything. So I think you're right. I don't expect anything to change.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you guys. Like, I just want to be clear with my point that I do agree there's too much football right now, in current conditions, but I think if you change those conditions, there's not too much football. Things we talked about, and there are a couple of things where they have not promoted their less like lower teams or lower divisions. They don't give like a Carabao Cup, like half of the things should be from Division 2 and half of them, like there are ways you can change things up, tweak things, minor tweaks here and there that can promote other. The problem right now is all the football that is being played right now is centered around heliocentric, like it's club centric. There's 6 clubs and we're, as long as those are in it, like we're not promoting football, we're just promoting top 6 football. And that's an issue. That's where you're not growing the sport, you're just growing your wallets.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, just one more point. When we're talking about like changes that they could have made, right? Just to help player fitness. Bro, these motherfuckers won't even change the offside whistle to go off as soon as the referee knows it's offside. They will make these players actually sprint thinking that they're defending a goal or about to score a goal and like make like lunging tackles and risk injury. Like, just blow the fucking whistle. We've been talking about this for a decade. Just blow the fucking whistle. It's that simple. They won't even change that. That's how stubborn they are.
What do you guys think? Is there too much football? That's the question. I think maybe our next video has already been decided. How regressive is the FA and EPL in general? Apparently, that's the discussion now. But is there too much football? And do you guys think it should be changed? We are the substitutes. Let us know what's up. Like, share, subscribe. Peace out. Have a good one.